News First, face to face with Mariam Gunvujaya.
A very good evening. You're watching a Face to Face on TV1, where we dive deeper into Sri Lanka's political arena. And today our topic of discussion is a crucial need to market Sri Lanka right. So today we are tackling a very crucial issue for Sri Lanka, and that is attracting foreign direct investment. While the country boasts immense potential, have we actually reached full capacity when it comes to this particular matter? To discuss these matters and much more, we have with us today the chief organizer of the Casbah electorate of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Gayan, who is also a practicing marketer. Very good evening to you, Gayan, and welcome on the show.
Mariam.
Right, let me cut to the chase. Sri Lanka stands at a crossroad. We are a country, according to the constitution, that is expecting elections this year. And this can change the course of action for the country when it comes to economic growth. So tell me, with the scars that we have when it came to the political and economic crisis that we recently experienced, how can we strategically market Sri Lanka to the world?
Thank you, Mariam. And when you talk about strategically marketing Sri Lanka, first of all, have we actually market our country as a whole? Because most of the time people talk about marketing is like advertising or putting itself up to the world, saying that this is Sri Lanka. Especially when it comes to the tourism industry, we say visit Sri Lanka. And what we advertise or what we market is the beaten track. We show them the wildlife, we show them the beaches, we show them the Candy Perahara. But have we actually tapped into the most profitable areas in the tourism industry? Or for that matter, when it comes to the FDIs, for the past few years or for the decades, have we actually tapped into the most profitable FDIs into this country? Because in order to attract FDIs, we need political stability, we need economic stability. Apart from that, we need to have the regulatory as well as the business environment to be friendly to the investor. As a country, have we done that? That's the main issues we are facing now. Because no foreign investor or any business for that matter won't come to a country or do a business in a society without profits in mind. Because what they want is to maximize their profits. They are not charities. So, as a country, have we given those investors the necessary requirements from our end for them to come and invest in our country? Now, one of the main arguments going around in the country right now is that a 75-year curse. For that 75-year curse, as a country, we have not fulfilled our potential. But is it actually the truth? Now, during those 75 years, there may be shortcomings, there may be pitfalls, but the free education system thrived and it created the necessary manpower which needs for the FDIs to come into a country, and also a free health sector, which has somehow managed to provide the necessary society, a healthy society for that matter, for FDI to come into a country. And if you take like Mahaveli project, that happened during those 75 years, which took dry zone and made it irrigatable land, then created hydropower, through that hydropower, we created free trade zones, and through that free trade zones, we were able to attract FDIs. But those are all bits and pieces, but as a whole, have we strategically positioned ourselves in the world map? To do so, if we are to attract the FDIs into the country, we should be able to position ourselves. Especially, we need to provide what are our core competencies. Do we have core competencies in this country? Now, we say we are a small country. From the land mass, we are 123rd in the world. But in case of population, we are 61st country in the world. So basically, we have the manpower. It's not uneducated manpower. It's a literate manpower, a manpower with talents, a manpower which can gain experience very quickly, a manpower which can be given specialized disciplines very quickly, and we have an educated population. So thereby, have we given to the world that Sri Lanka come and invest with us? We have the manpower which is required to provide your companies with the necessary facilities.
So what are we doing wrong? Why are we not giving that particular message to the world?
For some reason, we have not been able to do that.
Why?
I think probably what we have here in this country is that we have a kind of a culture where we think that we are not good at.
Are we talking about the country as a whole? Are we talking about this current government only?
No.
Or throughout history we've been like this?
Throughout history,
okay,
we have that backwardness in our genes. You go to an international summit, you can see the other Asian countries always voice out. But we hardly see our leaders, maybe our participants, not for that matter the political hierarchy, even the general participants, they hardly speak out themselves. We don't express ourselves. We are more inward looking in our culture. And we always boast about that we have one of the best education systems. But when we compare with other countries, where does our education system lies right now? We are literate, but are we updated? So the manpower we have should be updated. The manpower we have needs to be upgraded to the necessary requirements which requires in this world, today's world. And in that matter, I think we have somehow failed. On the other hand, for people to come and invest in a country, you need to have political stability. Now, for the last few years, were we able to do that? Because we have a legal government, but is that government legitimate? It's a debunked government. They don't any longer have the people's power. They don't no longer have the people's will. The 69 lakh people's vote they received is no more valid. The person who was given that mandate is no longer ruling the government, but a person who failed even to win a single seat from the district is now ruling the country. So, in that way, would the international community see this as a legitimate government? It is legal, that's true, but is it legitimate? And on the other hand, for a country to attract FDIs, we need to have consistency in our policies.
Now, you said you were speaking for the entire country when you said that we are a bit backwards.
Yes.
Let's say if you all get elected and you all are the next government, it's a Samagi Jana Balaveke government, what assurance do you have that it's going to be different when you all are in power? Are we still going to be backwards because it's a Sri Lankan issue, or are we going to change? And what can we do to change?
It's an issue that cannot be addressed overnight.
Okay.
When there is some inherent quality in a society, it takes time. You cannot overnight change the thinking pattern of a nation. First of all, you have to embed it in the society that you can. Because we as a country, over the past years or for the past decades, we've been thinking, if we earn, we will lead.
But like you said, this is not overnight. We've had this for 75 years.
Yes, that's what
Why
I'm
didn't
saying.
we make a change 75 years
Yes.
ago or throughout
No.
the 75 years?
No, for that to change, that's what I'm saying, it cannot be changed overnight. It has to be a gradual process. It has to start not from the adults, it has to start from the kids.
But we haven't started. We have to start.
We have to start. You said, what are we going to do when we come into power?
Okay.
So, this is all hypothetical
Okay.
answers we are giving. Because when we come to power, or if we come to power, so it has to start with the schooling system. It has to start there. You have to let kids think out of the box. Because from the day a kid step into the school, the first thing we do is we kill the creativity in that kid. We give a piece of paper, maybe a pre-drawn picture, and that kid has to paint that picture according to what the class teacher says it has to paint. If you give a leaf, that kid has to paint it in green itself. It can't be any other color at all. If a kid paint that leaf with a purple, maybe yellow, that is
Wrong.
wrong. Not wrong only, that kid does not suit, that kid does not fit to that class environment. Now, that kid may be painting that piece of leaf or piece of paper, seeing a croton leaf. Maybe she or he has seen a nut tree. We kill the creativity in the child the first day step into the classroom. We say, no, this is how it has to be done. This is how you should do it. You have no creativity in yourself. You can't do that. But as a grown-up, we expect that kid to think out of the box when from the first day it goes to the school, we cage him inside a box. So it has to start from the school. It has to start from the education system where we embedded in that child the courage, the enthusiasm, the willingness to make a change, willingness to make mistakes, and get that kid to thrive in its life. Then as he grows up, maybe it takes 10 years, maybe it takes 15 years, but the society as a whole will change during that time. Because a society cannot be changed just like this.
So it's going to take us a whole other generation to fix the mentality of the country. We can't change it with the people.
Now, do you think a 60 or 65-year-old person you can change?
So we just, but speaking of that, Gayan, let's not say 60 to 65, but the people, the political leaders in our country,
Yes.
most of them in the governing bodies,
Yes.
are people above a certain age. And if we
Yes.
don't fix them first, what's the point of fixing the next generation? We need to start with them because they are the ones who are controlling our country right now.
Yes. So they are the ones who have been controlling this country for the last few decades or so. And maybe if they have done the job properly, we may not be talking about this
Then what
Middle
about
Lanka
those who come into power through your government? We are not going to have children governing the country, are we? So we are going to have people even from your party?
No,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying, as the SJB government,
Okay.
we have people who think out of the box. If you take a figure like Dr. Harsha, on the economic, he has a different stance to most of us. Because when most of the people are saying you have to provide certain things for the unions, certain things for the social security net, he speaks out himself. And he says, no, there is something need to be changed. So we have to change our mentality. We have to change the way we do businesses. We have to change the way state-run enterprises are doing their businesses. We no longer can provide all the utilities, we can no longer provide all the facilities, we can no longer provide everything through a government system. There need to be a change, and that needs to be voiced out. So there are people, not only from our government, there are people from different parties who has that vision, who has a self-belief that first they have to change themselves, and then they have to change the society as a whole. Because without changing, you cannot change anything. First, you have to change yourself. Once you change yourself, you can change the society. But it has to start from the young ones. Without changing the young ones, if you're going to groom the young ones as we were groomed,
it's never going to work.
It's never going to work, because you have to start from somewhere. The best place to start is not from the adults, it's from the kids. Because there are countries which start from that and which are thriving now. It took them some time. It's a hard road to walk in, but they have done it. Because they had the political will, they have the political guts. Because here what happens in Sri Lanka is we make decisions based on elections. We make decisions based on how we are going to gain power next time. I'll give you a classic example. I think this is the best policy ever put up in post-independent Sri Lanka. W.W. Kannagara, as a policy maker, put up free education. Now, he went through hell to get that passed in the system, because the elite did not believe in free education. They did not want him to succeed. It was a famous saying that if this was into force, they would not have lad or lass to clean their houses, to do their household chores. They won't have anybody to look after their herds, to pluck coconuts or anything like that. So they didn't want to happen. But he had his will, he had his political will to see through that this thing get passed. But what happened in the next election? From the same people who voted him in the previous election, after doing such a noble service to the nation, he was defeated in the next election. So what happened to Churchill after the Second World War happened to Sri W.W. Kannagara. The person, you and me, I think you also went through the government schooling system, I went through the government schooling system. So the person who gave us that benefit, the person who put up his neck out and gave us that free education system to the country was defeated. So most of the time, the Sri Lankan political arena, they make decisions based on the next election. It's not most of the time for the betterment of the people or the betterment of the country, but
to score their next term.
Yes, and there are there's quite a lot new breed of politicians, if so call us. We want to voice out ourselves. I don't know how it might reflect on the bigger picture, but we tend to voice out what we think which is right. So for when you ask about it, I think as a country, if we're going to move forward, we have to make changes. Without changes, we cannot change this country for a better place, because change has to start from us, then it has to drip to the society, then as a whole the society will change and ultimately we'll have a better country for all of us to live in.
Right, Gayan, now since you're speaking of our country, let me shoot this question to you. Beyond foreign investment and how we market our country to the world, we need to set our country right first. So when it comes to domestic entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurs in our country, how they're going to succeed and invest and make our country an investment zone so that we can market it to the world, what should be done different here? Because if I recall right, I think the opposition leader said that he wants to have 1 million entrepreneurs or investors in the country very recently. But how can we do that if, like you said, the people are so backwards and they are refusing to voice opinions? How can we get them to come forward and do this for the country so that we can market them to the world?
Now, let's see. We need entrepreneurs.
Do we have them?
We have them.
Okay. And they're smart enough to do the job?
Yes, but not on the scale which is needed.
What's that scale?
Now you said 1 million?
Yeah.
It's quite a challenging number. But at least when you say about entrepreneurs, does our education system encourage entrepreneurs? Now, what the normal middle class families need, they want their kids to be somehow get into a government job, a secure job, a pension, to have a roof over their heads, to get married, start a family, then send those kids to a school, then those kids somehow become adults, then they marry, then they have another family.
Same cycle repeats.
Same cycle repeats. But do we encourage risk? Because to be an entrepreneur, you need to take risk. Now, without taking risk, you can't be an entrepreneur. So, what we need is people to be risk takers. Now, entrepreneurship does not happen overnight. There are some born entrepreneurs. The people that we heard about, the Dasa Mudalali, the Maliban Mudalali, then all they are born. But everybody is not like that. There are people who come through a certain system, become entrepreneurs. Now, anybody can become an entrepreneur, because what you need is to get away from your comfort zones. Why can't a government officer be an entrepreneur as well? On his way to work, can't he do some buying and selling? That can be the starting point of entrepreneur, because mostly our system, the banking system, maybe the financing system, it does not encourage entrepreneurs. We don't have entrepreneur bankers.
But I think there is another issue too now. Just like you said, the politicians work to secure their next term in parliament, or to be in power.
Yes.
Don't you think the people also expect some sort of reward when it comes to, just an example, if you tell them that if you become an entrepreneur, we'll give you this much as a grant, and then I think that would push people to do it a little bit more compared to the people who would do it without a certain reward. Don't you think something like that should be implemented, or is that a wrong belief that people should have?
No, it should not be a grant. Because as a country, we are in this situation right now because of grants. Because there should be nothing given for free. it should never be a free hand. It should be something they earn.
Okay.
What we need is a system where people are given credit. Now, if you have all the necessary documentations, if you have all the necessary securities you need, then they would not need a bank loan at that, because to be a small term entrepreneur or a small term businessman, you don't need millions. They maybe need 200,000, they may need 300,000 to start a sole proprietorship, maybe to start a small business, to do a small manufacturing business, maybe want to sew some garments and sell it to the street vendors. But to get that, the hassle the small term entrepreneur has to go through to accumulate that capital is such that they would never want to go through that road again. But because it says to earn your first million is hard, but once you earn that first million, to make it 2 million is not that hard. So what even the opportunity leader was speaking of is not to give grants, but to make it easier for them to access to the capital. Now, he was saying about twinning. Is that not to give a school all the facilities through the government, but to have a school in another country and twinning it to the local school where they can exchange. They can exchange knowledge, they can exchange wealth, they can exchange experiences.
Yeah.
So by doing so, the local schools will gain the valuable experiences, the valuable wealth, the valuable knowledge, so on and so forth. So even for you to have entrepreneurs, first you have to embed entrepreneurship in people, but to do so they need the capital. So that you need to make necessary arrangements for them to access capital without such a hassle. Because right now, I think you and me know that even for us to get let's say 1 million rupees as a loan, we have to fill, I think, about 80 to 90 pages of documentation and the cost of it. Because the cost of acquiring credit should be such that people are willing to take that, and people should be also get rewarded for being entrepreneur. Because right now nobody wants their kids or their children to be entrepreneurs. They all the majority of the society believes that they need to be someone who works behind a desk, because there you have the security. It's something to do with the security, job security, because entrepreneurs, we need to have some kind of a safety net for them as well. If they're going to fall short, that their day-to-day needs will be covered.
Right, that was our discussion with the Chief Organizer of the Kasbah Electorate of the Samagi Jana Balavege, Gayan. Thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
And that was the show for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night and take care.